I stood on Grandma Rose's back deck, watching my cousin Jennifer spread the refinancing documents across the weathered picnic table. The afternoon sun caught her gold bracelet as she clicked her pen open, her smile bright and condescending in equal measure. "Okay, Rachel," Jennifer said, tapping the signature line with her manicured nail. "This is the last one. Sign here, and we can finally unlock the full potential of Aunt Linda's properties." I picked up the pen, pretending to scan the document one more time. Around the table, my family watched with expressions ranging from approval to outright pride in Jennifer. "This is really wonderful of you, Jen," Uncle Tom said, beaming at his daughter, taking on the burden of managing Linda's rental properties for Rachel. "Not everyone would be so selfless." Jennifer's smile widened. "Family helps family, Uncle Tom. Besides, Rachel's busy with her little wedding planning business. She doesn't have time to deal with tenant calls, maintenance issues, property taxes. It's too much for someone without real estate experience." My Aunt Carol nodded vigorously. "It makes perfect sense. Jennifer has her real estate license, her financial planning credentials, her MBA. Rachel's great at organizing parties, but property management, that's a whole different level." I said nothing, just took a sip of my iced tea. "You're being very mature about this, sweetheart," Grandma Rose said, reaching over to pat my hand. "I know Linda left those properties to you, but accepting help is a sign of wisdom. Jennifer knows what she's doing." "Wisdom," I repeated softly. "Exactly," Jennifer said, organizing the signed papers into her portfolio. "And honestly, Rachel, you should be relieved. Being a landlord is stressful. All those decisions, all that liability. Now you can just focus on weddings and flowers and pretty things. Let me handle the actual business operations." "Those properties are really more of a headache than an asset," my cousin Brad chimed in. "Old buildings, constant repairs, difficult tenants. Jennifer's going to turn them around. Modernize the operations. Maximize the return on investment." "Maximize the return," I echoed. Jennifer laughed, that sharp, familiar sound I'd known since childhood. "Rachel, I've looked at the financials. Aunt Linda barely broke even on those rentals. They're in C-grade neighborhoods. The units are outdated, the rental rates are below market. But with proper management, strategic renovations, maybe even refinancing to fund improvements, we can actually make something of them." "Make something of them," I said. "Don't be defensive," Uncle Tom said. "Jennifer is trying to help. She's going to professionalize the operation, bring the properties into the 21st century, implement real systems. You should be grateful." "I am grateful," I said simply. Jennifer's expression softened into something resembling compassion. "I know Aunt Linda meant well leaving you those properties. You were her favorite niece. But let's be honest, she probably didn't realize you weren't equipped to handle them." "There's no shame in that." "No shame at all," Grandma Rose agreed. "Not everyone is cut out for real estate investment. You gave it a good try these past 2 years, sweetheart. Now let Jennifer's expertise take over." I glanced at my watch. 3:15 p.m. Right on schedule. "The refinancing papers are complete?" I asked Jennifer. "Everything's filed?" "Completely," she confirmed, patting her leather portfolio. "My lawyer drew up all the co-ownership documents. You and I are now 50-50 partners on all 5 properties. And these refinancing applications," she tapped the stack, "will give us the capital to really upgrade everything. We're looking at about $400,000 in total borrowing capacity." $400,000. I repeated. "That's a lot of money." "It's an investment in the future," Jennifer said. "We'll use it to renovate the units, raise the rents, increase the property values. In 5 years, that portfolio could be worth double what it is now. And you're sure the properties can support that much debt?" I asked. Jennifer's smile tightened slightly. "Rachel, this is what I do for a living. I've run the numbers. With the rental income we're showing, the banks are comfortable with this borrowing level." "The rental income we're showing," I said quietly. Brad leaned forward. "What's with the weird tone, Rachel? You've been acting strange all afternoon." "Have I?" "Yes," Aunt Carol said. "You're being very calm about signing over control of $800,000 in property. No questions, no resistance. It's not like you." "Maybe I'm just relieved," I suggested. Like Grandma said, accepting help is wisdom. Jennifer was studying me now, her eyes narrowed. Rachel, is there something you're not telling us about the properties? About the properties? I asked. There's quite a bit I haven't told you, actually. But you'll find out soon enough. Find out what? Uncle Tom demanded. Before I could answer, the doorbell rang. Every head turned toward Grandma's house. Are you expecting someone, Rose? Aunt Carol asked. No, Grandma said, confused. Everyone's already here. Actually, I said, setting down my tea, that would be for Jennifer. Jennifer stood abruptly. For me? I'm not expecting anyone. You should probably answer the door, Grandma, I said calmly. Grandma Rose walked toward the house, bewilderment clear on her face. Through the sliding glass door, I watched her open it to reveal 3 people in dark suits. 2 men and 1 woman, all carrying badges and briefcases. The color drained from Jennifer's face. Mrs. Martinez, the woman said, her voice carrying across the deck. I'm Special Agent Morrison from the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. We're looking for Jennifer Chen. The FBI? Uncle Tom's voice cracked. What the hell? Jennifer Chen. Agent Morrison stepped onto the deck, the other agents flanking her. I'm Special Agent Morrison. These are Special Agents Park and Williams. We need you to come with us to answer questions regarding mortgage fraud, wire fraud, and falsification of financial documents. Jennifer's mouth opened and closed without sound. This is insane, Brad said, jumping to his feet. What are you talking about? Your cousin has just filed refinancing applications using falsified rental income statements, Agent Morrison said. She's attempted to defraud 4 separate banks out of a combined $400,000. That's ridiculous, Jennifer said, finding her voice. The rental income on those applications is accurate. I have the records right here. Those records are fabricated, I said quietly. Everyone turned to stare at me. What? Grandma Rose whispered. The rental income Jennifer used in those applications is fake, I repeated. The properties generate about 40% less than what she claimed. She inflated the numbers to qualify for larger loans. The silence was absolute. Agent Morrison smiled slightly. Perhaps you should explain, Miss Martinez. I think your family deserves to understand what's happening. I stood, walking to the deck railing. 2 years ago, when Aunt Linda died and left me her properties, Jennifer offered to help me manage them. I was grateful. I didn't know anything about being a landlord. She set up the bank accounts, hired the property manager, handled the bookkeeping. I trusted her completely. I did help you, Jennifer protested. I've been managing those properties for 2 years. You have, I agreed. And about 6 months in, I started noticing things. Small things at first. A maintenance invoice that seemed high. A vacant unit that stayed listed longer than it should. Rental rates that seemed below market even for those neighborhoods. Uncle Tom shook his head. Jennifer wouldn't. I hired a private investigator, I interrupted. Someone who specializes in financial fraud. He discovered that Jennifer had been systematically understating the property's value in her reports to me while planning to use inflated numbers on refinancing applications. She'd pocket the loan money, leave me holding properties that couldn't support the debt, and eventually, when I couldn't make the payments, she'd buy out my share for pennies on the dollar. That's a lie, Jennifer said, but her voice wavered. Is it? I pulled out my phone. I have recordings of every conversation where you pushed me to make you co-owner. Every meeting where you explained why we needed to refinance. Every phone call where you told me how much the properties were worth. Want to hear them? Jennifer's face went white. Agent Williams stepped forward. Miss Chen, we need you to accompany us to the field office. You'll be questioned regarding your knowledge of the falsified income statements, your intended use of the loan proceeds, and your planned disposition of the properties. Disposition? Aunt Carol said weakly. Jennifer had already contacted a developer about selling 3 of the properties, I said. As soon as the refinancing went through, she'd planned to take her half of the sale price plus half of the loan money. I'd be left with 2 properties and massive debt I couldn't service. The properties aren't even worth selling, Jennifer insisted. You said so yourself, they're barely profitable. I said they barely break even at the rental rates you've been charging, I corrected. But the market rents in those neighborhoods are 30 to 40% higher than what you've been collecting. You kept the rents artificially low to support your story about the properties being a burden. But you told the banks they were generating much higher income. That's fraud, Jennifer. Agent Morrison nodded. We have documentation showing Miss Chen submitted loan applications claiming monthly rental income of $15,000 across the 5 properties. The actual rent collected averages $9,200. That's a significant discrepancy. But I didn't know Jennifer started. You drafted the loan applications yourself, I said. You signed them. You provided the false income documentation to 4 different banks. And you were planning to take the money and run. Grandma Rose sank into a chair. Jennifer, tell me Rachel's lying. Jennifer's mouth worked, but no words came out. Miss Chen, Agent Morrison said firmly. We need to go now. You can contact an attorney from our office. This is currently investigatory, but I'll be frank, the evidence is substantial. I anticipate charges will be filed within 48 hours. Charges? Uncle Tom said hollowly. You're going to charge my daughter? Mortgage fraud, wire fraud, falsification of financial documents, Agent Morrison confirmed. Yes, charges are virtually certain. The question is whether she cooperates, which will factor into sentencing recommendations. Jennifer turned to me, her expression a mixture of betrayal and rage. You set me up. You let me sign those documents knowing the FBI was coming. I let you commit fraud with full documentation, I corrected. Those are different things. I was trying to help you, Jennifer hissed. You were trying to steal from me, I said. You were going to saddle me with debt. I couldn't pay, force me to sell my share of Aunt Linda's legacy, and walk away with hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's not help, Jennifer. That's theft. How dare you, Uncle Tom started, but Agent Park cut him off. Miss Chen, now. Jennifer grabbed her purse with shaking hands. I'm calling my lawyer. I'm fighting this. That's your right, Agent Morrison said. But I should warn you, Miss Martinez's documentation is extensive. 6 months of recorded conversations, authenticated rental records, bank statements showing the actual income, preliminary contact with real estate developers, and 4 fraudulent loan applications bearing your signature and notarization. The case is quite strong. You already contacted developers. Aunt Carol whispered. Jennifer didn't answer. She was staring at me with pure hatred. I trusted you, Jennifer said. You're family. And I'm family, I replied. That didn't stop you from planning to steal from me. As the FBI agents escorted Jennifer off the deck, reality seemed to crash over my family like a wave. Uncle Tom stood frozen, his face ashen. Aunt Carol started crying. Brad stared at me like he'd never seen me before. Agent Morrison paused at the door. Miss Martinez, we'll need you at the field office tomorrow to provide formal testimony. 9 a.m. Work. I'll be there. Excellent work, by the way. Your documentation made this case airtight. She glanced at my family. You should all be proud of her. She identified a complex fraud scheme and gathered the evidence to stop it. That takes patience and courage. After they left with Jennifer, Grandma's deck fell silent except for Aunt Carol's quiet sobbing. Finally, Brad spoke. You planned this. You let her think she was helping you while you were gathering evidence. Yes, I confirmed. That's cold, he said. That's thorough, I corrected. Jennifer was committing fraud. I documented it. She'll face legal consequences. But she's your cousin, Grandma Rose said, tears streaming down her face. How could you do this to family? How could she try to steal from me? I countered. That's the question you should be asking. Uncle Tom finally found his voice. You could have just confronted her. Told her you knew. Given her a chance to back out. Would she have? I asked. Or would she have gotten better at hiding it? Found another way to steal? Jennifer didn't make a mistake, Uncle Tom. She created a plan. She executed it over 2 years. She was going to defraud banks and destroy my financial future. That's not a person who stops because of a conversation. We would have talked to her, Aunt Carol insisted. Family could have resolved this privately. Like you resolved it when I told you 6 months ago that something felt wrong. I asked. My voice remained level, but there was an edge to it now. When I mentioned that the rents seemed low. When I asked why we needed Jennifer as co-owner instead of just a property manager, every time I raised a concern, what did you say? The silence was damning. You said I was being paranoid, I continued. You said Jennifer had the credentials and I didn't. You said I should be grateful for her help. You dismissed every red flag because Jennifer had the MBA and I just plan weddings. Brad's face flushed. That's not fair, isn't it? When I hired a property appraiser to get independent valuations, Jennifer told you I was wasting money. You agreed with her. When I wanted to interview the property manager myself, Jennifer said I'd confuse things. You agreed with her. Every time I tried to actually manage my own inheritance, you all sided with Jennifer. Because she knows what she's doing, Uncle Tom said weakly. She knows how to commit fraud, I corrected. The MBA didn't make her honest. It just made her a more sophisticated criminal. Grandma Rose stood on shaky legs. Get out of my house. I looked at her. What? Get out, Grandma repeated, her voice stronger now. You trapped your own cousin. You used your own family. You're not the granddaughter I raised. No, I agreed. I'm not. I'm the granddaughter who learned that family will believe a con artist over the truth if the con artist has better credentials. I'm the granddaughter who learned that you have to protect yourself because no one else will. I'm the granddaughter who learned that sometimes the only way to stop a criminal is to let them commit the crime and document everything. That's not stopping her, Grandma said. That's revenge. It's both, I said simply. Jennifer was committing fraud. I documented it. She'll face legal consequences. That's how justice works. The fact that it also feels good, that doesn't make it wrong. You could have just refused to make her co-owner, Aunt Carol said. Managed the properties yourself. Kept your distance. I tried that, I said. After I first got suspicious, I told Jennifer I wanted to handle more of the management myself. She said I was being irrational. You all agreed. Uncle Tom actually called me and said I was hurting Jennifer's feelings by not trusting her. Uncle Tom's face crumpled. Then when I said I wanted to refinance a loan, without Jennifer, she created a presentation showing why that would be financially irresponsible. She brought it to family dinner and you all agreed I needed her guidance. You created the pressure that made me seem paranoid for resisting. We were trying to help, Grandma insisted. By never once asking if I actually needed help, I said, my voice rising for the first time. By never checking Jennifer's credentials or asking to see the property financials yourselves. By assuming I was incompetent without evidence. You enabled her fraud. That's not fair, Brad protested. You're going to be witnesses, I said, grabbing my bag. The FBI will call you to testify about the family pressure, about the conversations where Jennifer positioned herself as the expert and me as clueless. This isn't over. This is just beginning. I walked toward the sliding door, then turned back. For what it's worth, I loved Jennifer. I loved all of you. But love doesn't excuse crime. She was going to steal from me and destroy my financial future. I stopped her. That's not revenge. That's self-defense. I left before anyone could respond. In my car, I sat for a long moment, letting the adrenaline drain. My phone buzzed. Agent Morrison, suspect in custody, questioning in progress. Your documentation is exceptional, Miss Martinez. This case is textbook. I replied, thank you. See you tomorrow at 9. Another text came through from an unknown number. Miss Martinez, this is Robert Chen, Jennifer's attorney. We need to talk about dropping charges. My client made an error in judgment but meant no harm. Surely this can be resolved within the family. I stared at the message, then typed back. Your client attempted to defraud 4 banks and steal my inheritance. This isn't a family matter. It's a federal crime. There's nothing to resolve. His response was immediate. She's your cousin. Do you really want to destroy her life over a financial dispute? It's not a financial dispute, I wrote back. It's fraud. And yes, I really do want criminals to face consequences, even when they're family. Especially when they're family. I blocked the number and drove to my office. Not the little wedding planning business my family imagined, but a successful company with 12 employees and clients across 3 states. The business that generated enough income that I didn't actually need Aunt Linda's rental properties to survive, but kept them because they were my aunt's legacy. My business partner, Diana looked up as I entered. How did it go? Perfectly, I said. She signed everything. The FBI made the arrest. She's in custody. Diana shook her head in amazement. 6 months. You played this out for 6 months. Had to be sure, I said. Fraud cases require extensive documentation. Plus, I needed to let her commit the actual crime. Suspicion isn't enough. She had to file those applications, use those false numbers, demonstrate clear intent. Your family must be devastated. They're angry, I admitted. They think I'm a monster. That I should have handled it privately. Should you have? Diana asked gently. I thought about it. If I'd confronted Jennifer privately 6 months ago when I first discovered her plan, what would have happened? She'd have denied it. My family wouldn't have believed me. They didn't believe me when I raised concerns. She'd have covered her tracks better and tried again later. The only way to actually stop her was to let her commit fraud with ironclad documentation. Diana nodded slowly. Fair point. Plus, I added. Agent Morrison said they'll use this case for training. Other fraud investigators will learn from it. Other victims might be inspired to document their cases properly. Jennifer's crime becomes a teaching tool. My phone rang. Uncle Tom. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, the notification appeared. I played it on speaker. Rachel, it's Uncle Tom. Your Aunt Carol and I have been talking. Maybe we were too quick to dismiss your concerns. Maybe we did put too much pressure on you to trust Jennifer. That's on us. But Rachel, Jennifer is going to prison. My daughter is going to federal prison. Please, there has to be a way to fix this. Call me back. I deleted the voicemail. Diana watched me carefully. You okay? I'm fine, I said. And I was. The guilt I'd expected, the doubt, the regret, none of it came. Jennifer had committed fraud. I'd stopped her. Justice was being served. What happens now? Tomorrow I testify. Then there's an arraignment next week. Jennifer will plead not guilty. Her lawyer will try to negotiate. The FBI will probably offer a deal, reduce charges for cooperation and restitution. And if she doesn't take it, then it goes to trial. All the documentation gets presented in open court. The recordings of her pushing me to make her co-owner. The fake income statements. The preliminary offers from developers. The pattern of manipulation. She'll be convicted, and the sentence will be harsher than the plea deal. You've thought this through. I've had 6 months to think about it, I said. Every angle, every outcome, every possible complication. This wasn't impulse, Diana. This was strategy. My phone rang again. Brad this time. I answered on speaker. What? Rachel, Grandma's a mess. Uncle Tom can't stop crying. You need to come back. Why? So you can all tell me what a terrible person I am. Jennifer made a mistake. 4 fraudulent loan applications isn't a mistake, Brad. It's a crime. She forged income documents. She lied to banks. She was planning to steal $400,000. She's family. So am I said. Why does everyone keep forgetting that? Jennifer was planning to ruin me financially. Where was the family loyalty then? She wouldn't have actually gone through with it. She filed the applications, Brad. She met with developers. She opened a separate bank account to receive the loan funds. At what point would you consider it actually going through with it? Brad was silent. She's your cousin, he finally said. How can you do this to her? How could she do it to me? I countered. That's what you should be asking. I ended the call. Diana was quiet for a moment. Do you think they'll ever understand? Probably not, I admitted. They'll always see Jennifer as the victim and me as the villain. That's fine. I'm not doing this for their understanding. Then why? Because it's right, I said. Because criminals should face consequences. Because if I'd let Jennifer proceed, she would have destroyed my finances, damaged her relationship with those banks, potentially hurt other people if the banks came after me for fraud. By stopping her now, with clear evidence, I prevented all that downstream harm. And it's personal, Diana said. And it's personal, I agreed. I'm tired of being underestimated. Tired of having my concerns dismissed because I don't have the right credentials. Tired of criminals getting away with crimes because they're family. Jennifer victimized me. She was going to do it again. I made sure she couldn't. We worked until evening, preparing documentation for the next day's FBI interview. By the time I left, I'd organized 6 months of recordings, financial records, text messages, and witness statements into a comprehensive case file. Driving home, I thought about Jennifer sitting in an FBI interrogation room, probably still insisting this was all a misunderstanding, that she'd meant well, that I'd misinterpreted her intentions. But the evidence didn't lie. The false income statements didn't lie. The loan applications bearing her signature didn't lie. The recorded conversations where she pressured me into co-ownership didn't lie. She'd committed fraud. I'd stopped her. That was reality, regardless of how anyone chose to interpret it. At home, I poured a glass of wine and sat on my balcony. Somewhere out there, my family was probably gathered at Grandma's house, discussing what a terrible person I was. How I'd destroyed Jennifer's life. How I'd torn apart the family. Let them talk. I'd stopped a criminal. I'd prevented bank fraud. I'd protected Aunt Linda's legacy. I'd proven that sometimes victims don't have to stay victims. My phone sat silent on the table. When I finally turned it on, there were 17 missed calls, messages from Uncle Tom, Aunt Carol, Grandma Rose, even cousins I hadn't heard from in years, but none from Jennifer. She knew. She knew I was right. Tomorrow I'd testify. I'd walk the FBI through every conversation, every red flag, every step of Jennifer's fraud. I'd be calm, thorough, professional. And I wouldn't apologize. Jennifer would probably take a plea deal. 3 to 5 years, restitution, probation, her financial planning career was over. Her reputation destroyed. But she'd committed crimes. She'd tried to steal from her own family. And now, finally, she'd face consequences. That wasn't revenge. That was accountability. The fact that my family couldn't understand the difference. That was their problem, not mine. I sipped my wine and watched the city lights blur in the distance. Tomorrow I'd testify against my cousin. And I wouldn't feel guilty about it. Because some things matter more than family loyalty. Things like honesty, integrity, justice. And the simple principle that criminals should face consequences, regardless of their last name. Aunt Linda would have understood. She'd left me those properties because she trusted me. Not Jennifer. Me. And I'd honored that trust by protecting her legacy from someone who saw it as nothing more than an opportunity to steal. That was what family really meant. Not blind loyalty. Not enabling criminals. But protecting what matters and standing up for what's right, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard.